Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic, chapter 213. And I thought this chapter would start off by talking about Alma Toran. It didn't. First, we talked about Judal for a little bit, and how he's training. I mean, that's cool to know, I guess, but it kind of just feels like Shinobu Utaka is buying more time. She's trying to stretch this out a little bit. Um, After that, they kind of talked about Alma Toran, but it was all stuff we already knew. So I mean, it's another world, and speaking of another world, that annoyed me. All right, he was trying to explain what another world is, and these guys like that was like a decent chunk of the chapter. Like Aladdin's telling them that Alma Toran is another world, and they're like, by another world, do you mean another country? By another world, you mean in outer space? No, he means another world. Like I don't know how I don't exactly live in that time or that area. I don't know how foreign the concept of another world is, but I mean, I just didn't like having to be explained to. I don't need to have that kind of thing be explained to me. This could be off screen. Like why is this in the chapter? Like I didn't understand why that was necessary. You don't need to explain to us what another world is. Another world is another world. Okay. Um, But yeah, he was explaining that stuff. He was explaining how Solomon sent him in the gym there, how that's where they came from, and Alfame and all that. It's stuff we already knew. All right, so I mean that for the first like 7, 8 pages or so, I just like it's just stuff I already know. Like it's not that big a deal. But eventually, Aladdin does transition into new things about Almatoran. He starts off by saying that King Solomon is the one who made the world that they live in at the moment. He's the one who made it that way, the way it is. He created the world. Um, he controls all the Rook. Controls in present tense. So is he still alive or what? Maybe he is, and maybe he's still no because Almatoran was destroyed. Who knows? Maybe he'll explain that too. Maybe it was just a translation error. Who knows? But yeah, King Solomon, he controls the Rook. Aladdin said that according to Solomon, Solomon didn't want anybody to know about Al-Mataran. He wanted to keep it a secret, but Aladdin thinks it's best for them to know. So he's disobeying the king that created him. I think they tried to make too big of a deal of this, like all the light and stuff, the effects and like the magic. Everyone's being blown away by like wind and like clairvoyance. Man, I think I thought like that was a little bit much. Like again, for what he was saying, like it's not that big a deal. Like he made it look like some guy was giving him orders for the longest time, and he's been following him for the longest time. But for the first time in his life, he's going against his master. Like they made it just seem like it was like some big moment, like, but it wasn't. It was just Aladdin deciding to talk to people. Like it's like this chapter was really weird. Um, According to him, the reason Solomon didn't want anyone to know is because he thought that people would be too like, they would be depressed after hearing the truth and why they were created or something like that. But Aladdin tells all the people there that he believes that they'll be able to handle it anyway. And it's pretty much your typical friendship feeling shonen crap. That's like my official phrase now: friendship feeling shonen crap. All right, this pretty much what Aladdin's trying to say is, I believe in you guys. I think you're strong enough to be able to handle this, and you'll be able to make it through because you're my friends, and I believe in you. All right, that's essentially what he was saying. All right, like I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's like I don't really care that much. Like, if this was some epic moment, like that, and that if this was some epic moment that was being ruined by like friendship feelings shonen crap, then I'd be annoyed. But it's not. It's just some random moment in the series. Like, don't think I'm like mad about what's going on. I'm not. I'm just messing around a little bit. It's Magi does this so often. Talking. I can probably take anything in Magi and try to like spin it in some way to make it sound like friendship feelings shonen crap. All right. I'm just messing around. Don't try and take it too seriously. Like it's not that big of a deal. I just thought I'd have some fun mentioning that how Aladdin's words can be viewed as your typical shonen grab. All right, but yeah, he ends up finally getting into Alma Toran, stuff we don't actually know. He started talking about how Alma Toran had intelligent life forms all over the world, not just humans, people who could establish societies and language, do human things, pretty much, things that only humans can do. And at first the world was peaceful, but then the populations grew, battles for territory and food started, and wars ended up breaking out. And among all of these fighting species, there was one species who was the weakest, and that was the humans. But then Solomon stepped up. It became the strongest thing in existence, having the strongest power in the world. And we're about to learn about that. So that should actually be interesting. That last part actually caught my interest, but the rest of it I didn't really care. It was just like random stuff that was not necessary and could have been skipped. Alright, so yeah, I'll give this chapter a 6 out of 10. It was an okay chapter. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. It was just okay. So yeah, I'll give it a 6 out of 10, and that's it. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.